So hello and welcome to the Expat Pod and welcome to the shorter quick-fire questions version. I'm joined today by Steve, who's a writer who's spent some time living in Bangkok, Thailand. If you haven't already listened to the full episode of the podcast, it is available wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Wherever you're watching or listening to this, please do go and find the full-length interview. But obviously after you finish listening to this one. My first question is, where's the favourite place you've ever lived?
I would, there were different times in my life, but I would have to say that the period of time when my wife and I were newlywed and moved to San Francisco was probably the favorite place because you're young, you're in love, you're newly married, and you're moving to a city that San Francisco's got its problems right now, I'm very sad to say, but it did not have it in 1980 or 81. It was just a wonderful city. I could still smell the coffee roasting on the waterfront. I can smell the bread being baked up in Little Italy. I can, just remember it so well. And that's not to say that other places weren't as wonderful, but because of my own situation, that first year was just like something I've never experienced before.
Incredible. That's the honeymoon period really good to live on. What's your favourite international food?
Boy, that's a tough one, but I'd have to say that my favorite international food is definitely going to be a Thai food, and it's a food from Isan. It's called Larb, and it's sort of like a salad that's made up of chopped up stuff, usually meat, but it could be chicken. I've even had salmon larb. It'll be usually mixed in with rice and things like that, but it is something that is very heavily chopped up, and you can season it any way you like. Other than that, I'm loath to say pad Thai because everybody says pad Thai is their favorite, and they usually say that because they probably haven't had anything else. That's the real reason.
It's a great choice. I've not had it before, to go try and find some. What's your favorite international tradition?
My favorite international I think I mentioned it. I somehow found that why to be so charming. I mean, it's so much different than a handshake. Thai people, it's a very conservative society. They don't run and hug and embrace each other. Maybe now younger people are starting to do it because it pisses off their elders. But by and large, the why is the way you show respect, and it's often done even among friends. I've only shook hands with a handful of Thais in my life, and I find it just very charming, especially when it's done by, there's nothing stupider than the Westerner who doesn't understand the tradition and gives a why to the cashier at the supermarket. And the 18-year-old, young lady is looking at him. What kind of an idiot is he? But when you actually see a Thai doing it in the pride, it's really nice. I really do enjoy that.
What's your favorite thing about living abroad?
My favorite thing about living abroad is that every day is a new experience, and at least in the time that I was living abroad and in the times I've traveled abroad, and this is true in the UK as well as it is in Bangkok, by the way, that the amazing thing is it really never stops being amazing. I'll give you just to give a plug to your country. My previous trips to England had all been to London, and then we went down to the Peaks District, to the areas around Sheffield, and to Liverpool, and I started to see a whole different side of England, and it was amazing to me. Like I told you, Liverpool. Whoever thought Liverpool, is one of the most artistic and musical cities I'm ever going to come to? It really is. So those are the kind of things. It's that constantly being amazed and learning and having your view shattered in a very positive way. I think most Americans think of Liverpool as a port city, and I have a lot of longshoremen and stuff, like think of on the waterfront. But, really, it's more like Austin, actually, with all the music and the art and the hip, cool people. So that kind of, no, really, I'm serious. That kind of stuff is what I find so fascinating about staying in a place long enough to absorb it.
What's your best homesickness remedy?
My best homesickness was probably very mundane. It was certain foods that you just can't get over there. Now, you were able to get good pizza in Bangkok, although several members, myself and many members, not just of the Jewish community, but all former Americans and Canadians, searched high and low for bagels, and there were many pretenders and poseurs, but I never found one that came close. And as far as Italian pastries, forget it. So those kinds of things. But the other thing I missed is something that is not an object, and this is what it is. As you gather, I'm a very political, opinionated person. When I said that Americans are known for going around saying, let me tell you what I think, I'm guilty of that. In Thailand, it is just the opposite. You keep your mouth shut. You don't, you can go to prison for criticizing any member of the royal family. And a number of prominent defense lawyers have disappeared because they represented people that the government did. It's a wonderful country until you get them angry at you. That's what I will say. And for me, that notion that you can't speak out is something that that would prevent me from living there permanently. I like the UK. You want to, you want to, criticize the government. You want to speak your mind in the UK. Join the club. It's like America. It was very difficult for me to be in a place where the ethos is keep your mouth shut. That's just the way it is. Don't complain. And that's hard for me. And that was what I missed the freedom of America. In fact, that's why I'm back to fight to make sure it stays that way.
What's the hardest thing about living abroad?
The hardest thing about living abroad is knowing that the impermanence of your situation, knowing that at any moment anybody could decide they could change they have changed immigration laws. Hasn't affected me that much. It used to be that if you didn't have a lot of money and you wanted to live in a cheap place, you could come in and every 30 days just go and cross the border and walk back in, get another 30 days. I don't know how I guess if you got nothing to do, it's okay. They would have these visa runs where people would get on a bus and go to the border of Laos and walk across and come back in. And now they've cracked down on that. They don't want, they want you to have a little more money and a little more permanence. But even with that, theoretically, I never had a problem with immigration, but some immigration officer could stamp denied, and nothing I can do about it. The other thing is that you must understand that, as a Thai lawyer friend told me, Steve, this is what you must understand about our judicial system. I said, what is it? He goes, the Farang always loses. It doesn't matter how good your case is. It doesn't, I could sue a British person in a court in Liverpool and I could win if I had the facts on my side. A judge would go my way. A jury would go my way. There's no jury in Thailand. You will not win. And that there's only one place you can win, and that is in these labor boards where they're very strict. They want, if you don't get paid by your boss, they'll make them pay you with penalties. But if you sue a Thai person because they copied your business name or they didn't pay you a loan or they took your car, good luck. Good luck. That's why nobody does it. They use extrajudicial methods to resolve these problems all too often. And that leads to problems also. So that I think the lack of freedom and the inability to rely upon the rule of law. I don't question whether you can do it here either, but that was, I think, the thing that really, that wouldn't trouble everybody. I was a lawyer. I was a political, most people don't give a darn about that. I understand that. But you asked me what bothered me.
That's the beauty of it. Everyone's got their own different kind of issues whilst being away from home. What's the best phrase you've learned?
Yes, I think it remains it's like pla die proa bok. It means the fish dies because of its mouth. You get what that means. In other words, the fish bites, the fish takes the bait. So that's their thing. Don't talk. Keep your mouth shut. Don't complain. That sums it up, But the most classic, of course, and the most, which is a beautiful one, is my benerai. My benerai literally means don't worry, doesn't matter, doesn't make, but it's used in it could be if you bump somebody, oh, my benerai, or it could mean I just want to tell you, all of your assets have been lost, in a star, my benerai. It could mean almost that, if that, they might not say it then, but it's you, and the problem is, Thai people don't like to confront, so it's everything is my benerai, even if they really are mad at you.
What's your best way of making new friends?
There are two ways. One way is to go to something you have in common, writers group, yoga class, something like that. The other way is just to engage people in conversation. One of the great things about being an expat in Thailand is it will be the very unusual other expat that won't engage you in conversation. You got to, obviously, if you see a couple of men deep in discussion, you leave them alone. But if you're sitting down at the next table, it's totally cool to smile and say, "Hey, hi, where you guys from?" And I've made actually some, that's often, you start to notice them. They come to the same coffee shop or the same lunch place all the time. Now you're pals. Now all of a sudden you want, so that's pretty much just approach people.
Yeah, completely. Extend that hand.
Yeah. Let them know you want it, don't be overbearing, don't, just be like a friendly person, and let's see how it goes. And sometimes you'll find out you don't really want to talk to them anymore, so that happens too.
What's the best thing to do in Bangkok?
The best thing to do, well, of course, one could say go see the Grand Palace. Not everybody's going to do that. I enjoy the fact that there is incredible music and incredible comedy. And the music is an international language, but there are some wonderful blues clubs, jazz clubs, rock clubs, and they're very inexpensive and easily accessible. And there is also one of the best stand-up and improv comedy scenes anywhere. It's better than what we have here in Tampa, which is starting to get big. And almost every Friday, my wife and I would go to that British pub and eat, not every, two or three times a month, and go up and watch the comedy shows. And Bangkok's like New York. I mean, you get out of the comedy show at 9:30 or 10 o'clock, forget the night is still young. It hasn't officially started yet. Bangkok is it's one of those places. So that's, again, I like listening to live music. So I, of course, favor going down to the saxophone club and the blues clubs and other places like that. Someone else may say nonsense, Unfortunately, too many people may may say go down to like the famous red light venues. But of course, that wasn't my scene. It's dying out now. As younger people come, they have different interests.
And my last question is, what's your best expat life hack?
That it's going to be a tough one. I've given a hint on. I think learn the language if you're going to live there. Learn the language. If it changes everything. It changes everything. Now, depending on if you're in a European country, writing and reading will come together. In an Asian country, I tried learning to read Thai. I didn't get very far, but speaking it will change everything. Number one, you won't be afraid to go into Thai neighborhoods if you want to do something or see something. Number two, you won't be afraid to ask a Thai person something. You'll have a simple enough language. I speak, ich kann Deutsch sprechen als, und yo hablo español también, es mi lengua segundo. But that really helps a lot. And I find that it allows my wife and I to have experiences that we would have otherwise missed if we didn't speak some of these languages. Obviously, you can't learn French or German or Spanish if you're going there for a week. But if you're going to become an expat and you're going to live in a place, at least give it a try for a few years. Really try to learn the basics of the language, and you will be amazed at what a difference it makes.
What a great way to end the podcast, and what a great answer to give, and one that hopefully resonates with a lot of people. So thank you, Steve, for your time. And as always, if you have enjoyed the podcast, you have found something which has inspired you or something which has helped you in your journey of living abroad, then please let us know. Please get in touch. And as always, we'll see you next time for the Expat Pod.